Hi, today we're learning how to write one strong body paragraph that focuses on a single premise and how to choose evidence that supports the reasoning. We're going to be looking at how we could integrate evidence from a work of fiction, in this case, Shadow Shaper, and a nonfiction text. In this video, I'll be using quotes from Why Understanding Colorism Within the Latino Community is So Important as the nonfiction text. Let's imagine this is your prompt. In chapter 12, Older introduces Tia Rosa. How does Older use a minor character to expose information or offer insight on Sierra, her world, and her family's conflicting values? In writing my claim, I'm going to want to remember that the claim is the answer to the prompt. And so it should use some of the same words from the prompt. Notice as I read the claim, how I make sure that it's answering the questions. I boldened the words that match the words in the prompt so that you could take special notice of them. Older uses Tia Rosa, a minor character, to expose how colorism within Sierra's family shapes ideas about worth and beauty, and to reveal how different generations respond to that bias. So here I see I am using Tia Rosa for sure. Minor character, I made sure I used that. Here it says expose. So I exposed that here. It's offering information on what? Her family's conflicting values. So I made sure here that I had how different generations respond to that, so that I make sure that my claim is really closely aligned to the prompt. Make sure that you're always checking your claim that it's answering the question. You don't want to do all that work and then have it not answer the question that you are being asked. Remember, premise statements act like the legs of a table. They support your claim. They are the reasons your claim is true. If your claim is the tabletop, the premise statements hold that up and support it. Here are three premises that could support the claim that we just went over. One might be Tia Rosa's language reflects internalized racism that teaches younger generations to equate lightness with value. Another one could be Maria's reaction reveals a generational conflict between those who repeat prejudice and those who question it. A third might be the colorism Tia Rosa expresses is a part of a systemic pattern also described in Suriel's real life story. So each of these, notice, also borrows from our claim. We use some of the same. So we have Tia Rosa mentioned here. We have colorism mentioned with the lightness right here. And then we have generations and generational conflict. We want to make sure that our premise statements are really closely aligned to the claim, and we could do that with using some of the same language. To support these premise statements, we'll look to the novel and a nonfiction article. Let's start with the novel. We all remember the awful things Tia Rosa said and how Maria, Sierra's mom, reacted. She said, if he's darker than the bottom of your foot, ... that Tia Rosa is something else. And then Sierra's mom, Maria, looked horrified. Rosa. Now, let's look at what we could find in the article. I see here that she mentions having a complexion like Snow White and golden hair like Cinderella. This evidence is powerful because Disney princesses are commonly held as standards of beauty for young girls. Let's look at how this all plays together. I have my claim written in purple capital letters, and my premise is highlighted in hot pink. Evidence from the novel is highlighted in dark purple, and evidence from the article is highlighted in blue. My explanations are highlighted in green, and the connective tissue, bringing the two sources together, are highlighted in yellow. Let's read it and notice how evidence from different sorts of text work together to support the premise statement and ultimately also the claim. In chapter 12, Older uses Tia Rosa's blunt humor to illustrate how colorism becomes part of everyday family talk. When she warns, if he's darker than the bottom of your foot, he's no good for you. Her exaggeration carries more than a joke. It exposes an inherited belief that dark skin lessens someone's worth. By presenting this through a trusted relative rather than an obvious villain, Older shows how bias can hide behind tradition. This pattern echoes the experience described by Suriel in why understanding colorism within the Latino community is so important. Suriel recalls that her cousin's snow white complexion and naturally golden hair were celebrated, while she was warned in a fearful tone to stay out of the sun so I do not get darker, as if receiving melanin was a tragic form of disfigurement. That account reveals how family members internalize the idea that proximity to whiteness equals safety and beauty. Reading the article beside Tia Rosa's words help us see that Older isn't depicting one cruel aunt. He is dramatizing a learned hierarchy still common in many families. Through Tia Rosa's comment, the novel invites readers to confront how normalized humor can preserve harmful values about race and belonging. I chose Tia Rosa's dialogue because this premise is about how language teaching bias, her words, do the work of the premise. I paired it with Suriel's story because both show how family voices, not strangers, pass down messages about skin color. The nonfiction evidence makes the fictional moment feel systemic, not just personal. When I talk about them together, so that is this sentence that's highlighted in yellow, the evidence connects Sierra's world to real world experiences that many readers recognize. And it stops everything I say about colorism from appearing as just my opinion, but now it's backed up by a nonfiction article that sort of gives credibility to what I'm saying. Together, they turn one line of dialogue into a lesson about how cultural hierarchies hide in everyday love, jokes, and warnings. Remember, strong evidence isn't just about matching topics, it's about performing your reasoning. Ask yourself, does this quote actually do what my premise says happens? That's how you move from summary to real literary analysis.